Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to Prime on my Media Prime TV. This evening, we're going to be looking at the elections that took place in the United States of America yesterday that saw the historic comeback of President Donald Trump. Most polls, statistics gave Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, winner, and even some prophets had already prophesied that Kamala Harris was going to be the winner of the elections, and also many polls said it was going to be a very tight election. But surprisingly, it looked like an easy victory for former President Donald Trump, who won, and the Democrats have been licking their wounds since yesterday, though they also have congratulated the president-elect Donald Trump, resolving to work harder for next year's elections, or for the next elections that is going to decide who takes over the helm of American nation. We're going to be looking at what actually took place, why the Democrats failed, why Trump won, and also focusing on the impact of these elections on world affairs. We're going to be discussing on this with our panelists who are in the house with us. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam was in the house with us yesterday. He's still here now to share his opinions on what may have transpired in the United States of America, also looking at it from a typical African and Cameroonian perspective. Good evening, Dr. Nick. We're glad to have you.
Oh, thank you very much. When you said you're going to discuss Donald Trump, even though I was here yesterday,
we are discussing. Anyway, yeah.
I couldn't help but come, because this is a very important topic, and it touches on the lives of Cameroonians, Africans, everybody around the world. And I can tell you that a lot is going to change because Donald Trump is the president, and we're going to explain why and how.
Mr. Aloysius, Tazi is also in the studio with us to discuss on this very important topic. Good evening, Mr. Tazi. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum, for inviting me. And I think that this is just a wonderful topic. Man is a political being, whether we like it or not. The American election and the results will affect us as human beings. And we want to look at how this is going to happen, both at the national, at the global level. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Dr. Akah John Akah, a lecturer with some universities in Cameroon and also a member of Cameroon's core civil society, is in the studio with us. Good evening, Doctor. Glad to have you.
Yeah, Mr. Leonard, the pleasure is mine. Once more again, we are talking America, United States of America, Donald Trump gaining back the White House. Where did he go wrong before in 2020, and what is he going to fix? Many Americans have been thinking that it might have been an error from Americans, but then the democracy of America triumphed. Democracy triumphed in the sense that we can see that a country that was divided 24 hours ago, now united by the same politicians that had given witches sin, and that there will be a quiet transition. I mean, the most friendliest. We imagine what happened between Trump and Barack Obama and Biden to transfer power. There was a need to contest the election, but this time around, the Democrats conceded the defeat, which means we are not going to be submitted to verification recounting of votes. But then Harris promised us that the future still lies within the Democrats and that she will continue to work for 2029. This is the spirit of democracy, and that many other nations that are thinking of copying should not look at the negative narratives, but what democracy is. They triumph the voice of the people, and that the votes of the people can make the voices. We are happy. It is America, and that it is the light for the whole world.
I don't know why the name of Hillary keeps coming up. Yeah. We also are in the company of Jarvis. He's a journalist who has been following up what is happening. Very concerned and touched by the elections. I don't know why that is a Republican militant. I don't know. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. The issue is, I think that what happens in America affects us directly and indirectly. So, like Dr. Nick explained one time I'm sure, on the program House of Commons, where he talked about the fact that no nation is independent, we are interdependable. So, if you look at what is happening in America, and one thing I follow so closely is because we have a lot of misinformation and a lot of misinterpretation of concept here. I think that if I have ambition one day to become a member of parliament in Cameroon, it will help me to know how I can formulate laws that can protect my people from the Western power, or how I can put enact laws that can better foster development and mutual cooperation. Because at the parliament, we also have people who are working who are working as far as the intelligence committee is concerned and the international committee is concerned. So that's why I think that as Cameroonian and as a journalist, I had to follow it with caution. In fact, I am a Republican because the values are the values that I stand for, the values for the love for humanity, the values for sanctity, the value for freedom of expression, that value that you have a right to express your vision and your views, whether others like it or not. And that value of honesty, not that value of pretense and doing the other things.
Okay. But you were so involved in these elections at Jarvis.
Yes, I actually campaigned for some of my platform.
Do you have a Republican Party card?
I actually have a contribution, because there's an online platform where you can contribute $1, $2, $3. Actually contributed.
Hope you're going to contribute to elections in Cameroon.
Yes, I will. The thing is, why you can sit in Cameroon and write a U.S. congressman, he replies you. He tells you what is happening. The other day I participated in Ben Carson's web conference. He was talking about pro-life, explaining some things. Ben, Cameroon is rare. You get to politicians, you write them, they will snub you. So it is difficult to have information.
I'm sure next week we're going to be looking at profiling what politicians are supposed to be doing and the way they carry themselves. Your first reaction, were you surprised at this victory? Because going by the polls, it was very difficult to be sure that Trump was going to win.
Yeah, everybody was kind of like taken by surprise. Why so? Because we had this, there's this vibe, especially this intoxication, this excessive energy from prophets, from apostles, from people who could foretell the future as far as those elections were going, the polls and everything, and the excitement, the excitement of having a woman as the first president. I mean,
black president?
Yeah.
First female.
No, let's say first female president. Okay. Because whether she's black or not is debatable, but let's leave black out. Because when you actually go to check, you don't see the black genes. Now, so there was that thing, and it would have been exciting and nice though to have a woman. But there was a but as far as I was concerned. I am concerned. Where is the but? I became very excited about politics in the USA in 2008, when something dramatic happened again in the US. And you all know it was about the first black man to be the president of America. That was unheard of. That was like from the blues. Now, what was so particular about this? The first thing is, I happen to be older than Barack Obama by probably 6 years, I don't know, or something like that, or more even. Number two, this guy is a first generation American. His father just left from Kenya, went over there and had him over there, and before you know it, he is president. So I kept on asking myself, if someone who is younger than I am can do this and be the president of the world, so to speak, then what on earth is Dr. Ngwanyam going around doing with his bald head and cannot even say the truth, cannot do something useful? And I was thinking and asking myself, how could he do it when even in my own family, during family meetings, I cannot talk? So this was the thing that pushed me. And I became so involved and so particular I was so crazy about him. And I had a meeting, I think it was on the 8th of December thereabouts, with the Cardinal, may his soul rest in perfect peace. And I was sitting with him in his office, and I asked him this question. Barack Obama, a young guy who just goes to America and he is president, how would that help Africa? What can we learn from it? And he taught me a lot of lessons, and I have kept those lessons. Number one, he taught me that Barack Obama won as president not because he is strong, but because he was working on a team. So we need to learn about team effort. Working in a team is very important. The next thing he told me was that, as Cameroonians, we should seek, to join politics and do the right things to change things for ourselves. And he gave some standard rules. Number 1, do unto others as you want them do unto you. Number 2, and he said that if he were not a prelate, he would have joined politics in Cameroon. And when I asked him why, he said it's important that God-fearing Muslims and God-fearing Christians should join the politics and take God into politics, because politics, we see it as dirty. So the God in politics is key. That's the only thing that can clean it. And when you say God, you mean truth and love. And so it went deep into my heart. And so I was battling with all these things. Let me cut a long story short. But for those of you who remember, I came up with something, copy Obama. I wanted Africans to copy what Obama had done. But there was something that I learned of that hurt me. It caused me to bleed. That the Democrats and Obama were supporting abortions. And I'm pro-life. So as long as he was supporting abortions, as long as he was going for all this LGBT, homosexuality and all whatnot, transgender things and so on, and remember, the Democrats, they removed God from the offices. There's no God in the office, in the public space there. So it does not matter whatever the Democrats are offering. If you don't know God, if you kill babies, I got no business with you. So I'm very happy with Trump.
Okay, you are happy with Trump, or you are happy he won?
Well, he's a great guy, right? And he won, and he's going to change the world around. And this is the good thing. You know that I was so happy because soon after his victory, the people, his militants who were at his campaign station or what, I don't know the term, they broke out in song. Oh Lord, I go when I'm in awesome wonder, considering all the world thy hands have made. I mean, I listened to that song and I'm so moved. Donald Trump is going to bring God back into America. That God is going to come back to Africa, because I was so disturbed when I kept having those Americans taking their planes and flying to Kenya and so on, asking everybody to become a homosexual. The French coming asking us to become homosexual. That's not going to happen. We thank Donald Trump for that.
Okay. Yes, your first reaction, were you surprised also? Did you see Trump thrashing Kamala Harris?
Yes, I foresaw this coming. Where did I foresee this coming? This was when I felt that when Joe Biden couldn't stand Trump during the first debate and decided to bring in Harris within 90 days or so, I thought that Trump was too tough for Harris within that very short time that she was coming in. So I thought that that was a big motivation for Trump. And I think Trump is a guy that I think I like him, even though I have some reservations about his racist attitude. But generally, I like him because Trump happened to be one of the very few American top politicians that the lobby groups don't have almost 70–80% grip on. He's somebody who has his own mind. There are times that the lobby groups in America will want to push, and Trump will say, no, this is where I stand. And that is something that very few American leaders have the power to do. And that's why you see Trump has a mind of his own when it comes to issues. Even though in the international arena, international politics, foreign policy, he has his own, he wants to treat foreign policy like a business, where you buy for 10 francs and you sell for 10 plus X francs, which doesn't work in foreign policy, because there are times that you just do things like a blind man, then you get it back the other way. That's why you see somebody in his past term, he could pull out of the Paris Treaty, he pulled out of the 5+1 Iran nuclear arrangement. He pulled out of those because he wasn't seeing the profit. He was even protesting that if other NATO members don't make equal contribution, he will pull out of NATO. So you see, he's that type of a person that has his own mind. He does what he feels he can do. He can stand the pressure from the lobby group in America. And I feel that as of now, Trump is a better candidate for international politics and the entire world. Therefore, I don't want to repeat what Dr. Nick said, because we're a Christian nation, and just the fact that these guys are pushing something on down our truth of homosexuality and all of that, which we agree that a majority of us Africans don't want to take. I think that alone was enough for us some of us to cover our faces from the Democrats.
Okay, Dr. Akah, what could have contributed to the victory of Donald Trump that the Democrats failed to do?
Yeah, Joe, maybe I might not get into what others have said, but then at the very beginning, I've never been a fan of Trump.
Okay.
But then a denial of an individual will not be denied when victory is made democratically. Yes. Okay. First, Trump has been on campaign for the past 4 years. Harris came 30 or 90 days ago. And again, to understand, Harris really put on a good fight. To come at 90 days to election and you create a lot of doubts in the mind of voters. It means that if given 2 years, she would have created a different agenda. And it means that the Democrat equally failed to prepare a required candidate for the election. Yep. When I listened or I read what Nikki Haley wrote 2 days in New York Times, 2 days to elections, he said up to now, there are more than 26% of Americans who have not yet decided who is their candidate. Something a lot of opinion polls even fail to point out. And that the vote, who will win in the next American election in less than 48 hours, will be when those undecided voters made their decision. And it happens that a lot of those who made their decision at the last date went in for Trump. We could equally know that the American society presently, since Trump coming to power, was a centric one, which means that American first. The American first dream worked well when Trump was in power. That one we cannot doubt. He created a lot of jobs and the economy was equally very vibrant. A lot of people complained that salaries were better and the cost of life was low. So people want to enjoy again this second coming of Trump. It's like Jesus Christ resurrected and Americans were yearning for that, which equally gave Trump the outrage. I have had within my mind that in the history of America, a lot of Americans are not yet ready for a lady president. And this might have played within the minds of many voters on the last day, but normal that Trump won. The same issue that happened in 2016 is exactly what has happened in 2024. That sometimes Democrats, they have one banner, freedom, but then freedom does not mean freedom to do everything because the laws are clear. There's a limit to freedom. Freedom to kill should not be considered freedom, or freedom to change sex organs to female should not be insultive to natural creation. So in this, some of these principles will equally disagree with them and might have played equally much in the life of undecided voters and even those who hated the concept of abortion, homosexuality, or transgender women or men that Trump had been against. Which means somewhere it was very certain that Hillary was meant to fail. But then Harris, where God. I don't know why we are so close to this Clinton-Hillary case. But then Harris was meant to fail because a lot did not go well with him. The preparedness was slow. Yes, like somebody said somewhere, that most of the male Democrats lack the guts to take the bull by the horns. We were expecting that within the Democratic Party, there would be an opposition for why Harris should be their favorite candidate. If Biden is not going, didn't we have? But also in the other camp, Trump is going to keep Republican Party hostage for the past 12 years. It's what we have never seen in American election, that one candidate from the same party for 12 years remained the front bearer of the party, which somewhere others qualified him as a dictator, and that the influence he had on the party is keeping the party back to him for these 12 years.
Okay. What was lacking in the candidate Harris?
I think the fact that Dr. Akah mentioned on the 3 months period for Harris, I think that to me is not much of an excuse, because the Democrat had the media for 4 years campaigning on behalf of the Democratic Party. For 4 years, they demonized Trump. For 4 years, they call him names instead of pushing policies. Now, this is what was lacking. The Democrats spent 4 years talking about abortion, 4 years pushing gender minor surgery on children. despite the fact that a good number of silent majority, and one thing that was so bad is that if you come against it, you will be victimized, you'll be insulted. So people were just quiet and just waiting for the opportunity, that because the Democrat policy which they championed was that a child of 5, 10, 12, 13 years has a right to decide whether he or she wants a surgery to become a man or a woman without the parents' consent, or without even if the father stand against, it will be that father may be punished. So that was the center policy they campaigned on. Harris, on interviews on numerous occasions, have been saying that you can go walk. She was talking about the work policy, and everybody knows what work is. Work is that kind of crazy, that kind of laissez-faire. Now they also campaigned on the fact that boys should be allowed to compete in girls' sports, and as long as you identify yourself that you are a woman, you should be allowed to compete or to use women's bedroom, dressing room, bathroom. You should be allowed to. And majority of Americans, the blacks and also the Latinos who hold Christianity to their core, could not voice their disapproval or could not quickly say it because you'll be victimized by the media. And so they kept their cool. Trump was constant on 5 key issues. 1, the economy. That was the center. Are you better today than you were 4 years ago? Wherever he went to, that was it. The second, Harris never granted a press conference till the date of the election. Never. Trump was constantly on the press, granting press conferences, giving opportunity for journalists to ask questions, and he was answering them. Harris never granted a press conference. And when Harris became the nominee, Harris did not sit down for interview for a long period of time. The media was asking, when is Harris going to sit down for a major interview so that they can know her policies? Now, when you shy away from the media, whereas Trump, on the other hand, was on the media move. Trump was granting press conference day in, day out. And second, look at also the issue of immigration. Americans were centered on immigration. Trump was constant on immigration. And when Harris was asked and Biden was asked about immigration, Harris said there's no problem with the border. The border is secure. Before she became the nominee, before Biden quickly dropped out. Now she said the border was secure, the border was secure. When she went in for that debate, she was asked a question, the border. She said, no, it's Trump that made the border not to be secure because a bipartisan bill that was proposed, Trump decided that the bill should not be passed. And this is where Americans quickly, and those who are on social media, pick on her. You are a vice president. You have a president. You claim you have brought a bipartisan bill. Someone who is not a president had the power to stop that bill. It means that person should be the president. And second, you don't need a bipartisan. No,
yes.
Let me learn.
No,
you correct when you speak, doctor.
No, what I'm saying is Trump controls the Republican.
No.
We should
Doctor, let me land. I want me to land. It's not control. You don't need a bipartisan bill to block the border, Dr. Akah. When Trump came into power, Trump signed executive orders, and Biden's administration were quick to rescind those executive orders on the border. You don't need a bipartisan bill to close the border. And if you follow the debate, Trump said all what Biden needs to do, or all what Harris needs to do, go and wake Joe up, tell him to sign an order, and the border is closed. When Trump came into power, his first executive order was on closure of the border.
Not a character of the
No, whether you like it or
it's
not.
America, we are. You don't
Doctor, let me explain. It's not.
Yes, move ahead.
Doctor is not building the wall. I'm talking about closing the border, deploy troops to the border. Second, security. Look at the rate of crime during Trump and during Biden. The Homeland Security had released their figures, which shows that crime was constantly on the rise. But when Harris and Joe were asked about the issue of crime, they downplayed it. And the economy, Kamala Harris on record constantly said Bidenomics is working. Bidenomics is working. When she went to Jake Tapper and the Sinkupa town hall, and the Sinkupa asked her that same question, you said Bidenomics was working. But now you are saying that prices have gone up. What do you want to fix? Her answer was, I am from a middle class family. And you look at this situation, American voters were not stupid. The fact was clear. Energy. How much did Harris talk about energy? Harris 2020 till date states that she was against fracking. What is fracking? Fracking is like we are getting the normal petrol as we're drilling. She said she was against that. They push for electric energy. They push for more green energy. But America at this time doesn't effectively only need green energy. It should be a hybrid. Now, when they push for that factor, Trump quickly looked at it and said, this is failing because we have major military industrial complex that need this energy to operate. Now you are banning this, you are creating unemployment. To me, I think that it should be a hybrid. Those who want to go for electric, those who don't want to go for electric. That was why you see the good number of Americans who were silent. I did not even see the race to be closed. We sat down, we saw people were talking about opinion polls. The truth is, if you want to get an in-depth analysis on American politics, avoid just looking at the media as face value. Go on the internet. There are independent articles that these people have written. I want to also bring your attention on the fact that people have been blaming Trump, like Harris. All her campaign was Trump, 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 Trump. Tell us your policy. Tell us what you are going to do. Tell us how you are going to handle it. The how. And the Cooper, after the town hall with Harris, he was attacked. The videos are everywhere on social media. They said, Anderson came out and said, you were attacking me that you thought I was part of the Democrat. I am not social media. I was mainly doing my job. The question is, did Harris make good use of the opportunity? She did not, because whether she took 2 hours to campaign for president, the truth is majority people did not first of all like Trump. There are a lot of people who voted for Harris not because of her policies, just because they don't want to hear the name Trump. That was a major factor. And the Democrat had done an internal poll within the Democratic Party. Many people preferred Michelle Obama than Kamala Harris. They had preferred Michelle Obama. The fact was that they played the first one on Biden, and Biden also played the first one on the, because when they forced Biden to drop down, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, Barack Obama, after that debate, held Biden and asked Biden to drop, or they will invoke the 14th Amendment. So Biden quickly dropped. Then that same evening, Biden announced Kamala. There was supposed to be a short time for an internal primaries. But he quickly announced Kamala that if you want to punish me, there will not be a dynasty.
Okay, let's look at the topic for tonight. It has to do with the possible impact on world affairs. We start from home. Who amongst these two candidates was going to project or tie with what African values actually look like?
That's a very tricky one, because it depends on where you stand. You see, if you come from a pro-life background, like most of us here have been saying, then you certainly would not like the push for abortions and so on into Africa, and that was a no-go area. But when you look at for our brothers and sisters who have crossed over to America and are actually staying there, and then for those who are still here hoping to go to America either through the Amazon forest or whatever, they would support the Democrats, not because they like the Democrats, but just because of what they can get, hiding behind the shield of the Democrats. That's all. So when you see a lot of blacks and many other people liking the Democrats, it's not because they really love anything about the Democrats. It's just that the policies of the Democrats, somehow their laid-back policies allows them to find their way in and do whatever they want. And you will notice that most of the people who go out there, in as much as in the paperwork they will be complaining about political instability, victimization, and so on. But if you were to do a real study, you would realize that probably 2/3 of the people who went actually is for economic reasons, to find jobs and all these things. So that's the picture as I see it. Now, Trump coming to power, what can Africa get out of it? First and foremost, and the most important thing is, he's a shield to us. At least for 4 years, counting, depending on what happens, no, we are not going to be having these issues of homosexuality and all whatnot. It's over, it's done with. So at least we can have some peace. Then the second thing is, you see, our populations have been moving to America. What is that was going to stop it, so that the people who are in America begin to look back? Because this is what has been happening. As many of our people have been migrating to America, when I say my people, I'm looking at the whole of Africa and the other third world countries. When they go there and get married and have children, these children grow and, second and third generations, and the second and third generation don't even know where they came from. And even that first generation that went there, some die and are buried there. And when some go, because I have some people that I know that went to America, just died there, and we have never seen their bones. So it gives people now the opportunity to actually say, hey, wait a minute, do I have this citizenship? In reality, I'm not American. And so they would start looking back at Africa and trying to fix that thing that was chasing them away from from Africa. And they will begin to say, might be it's time, I'm working in this factory, might be it's time for me to start thinking like Asians. Is there something I can do to take a part of this factory back to Africa, to take a part of this industry back to Africa, so that I can go and have some work. So when he is doing that, he now forces, it's like a big classroom where he is forcing everybody to start thinking of a second option, plan B, because people were just lost there and they were just ready to die there and get their bones buried there or whatever. But now you have to come back, which is something that is great. Nobody is saying that you should come and stay here, but like I've been saying before, I've been saying that the Cameroon government, like many other governments in Africa, should give all our diasporans this double nationality so that they can go to America or Europe or anywhere, because these lands provide them resources and many other things. Get these resources and come back and invest. And that now also calls on us and our governments to make sure that we create a welcoming environment at this end, because a lot of the people went out because this environment is hostile. So the time has also come, while the Americans are changing, we also have to change here to create a landing pad for all our sons and daughters that will come, create a fertile ground so when they come, everybody can grow. So that is the key thing I'm looking at. And when you look at and listen to Donald Trump, like I've said before, the world runs on four things: politics, economics, that is wealth creation and whatever, wealth creation, productivity. Then there's development, human capacity development and logistics. Then all of these are dependent on the proper education. When you look at the politicians in Africa, we talk about politics from morning till evening, afternoon, I don't know what. And if you look again very carefully, the way Kamala Harris was going, the whole time was politics, and blame games. She was behaving like the African opposition parties. But what is peculiar about Trump? Trump, in as much as he is in politics, that's not his primary thing. He's an entrepreneur. So Trump was using a business mind in politics. And a business mind is about identifying problems and bringing solutions to the table, not talking about them, not blaming. At no time did Trump blame, okay, he could say Sleeping Joe or something like that, but after that he will get on to show you how he will solve the problems. He had no time to be discussing whether you have hair or you don't have hair. That's not his business. He is showing you, identifying the problem and bringing the solutions. And that entrepreneurial thing is what gave him the edge, and we are going to benefit from that. He is going to force us Africans, because we don't want to change, we must change. He used to call us a shithole nation, and we were angry about it, but honestly we are a shithole people, and we must sit up. Thank you.
Yeah, but do you also understand the frustrations in Africans? The black community actually is in mourning mood out there in the United States of America, and many Africans back here are angry at Trump. Can we understand why?
Yeah, the reason is very simple. You know, the reason is that because of bad governance in Africa, Africans have resorted to moving away from Africa at all costs. Mm-hmm. And because of bad governance and the limited opportunities presented by our government, so Africans have developed the desire to move out of Africa. You can imagine how many Africans die at sea trying to cross to Europe, but they are dying every day and they are still streaming in.
We took the sense to survive.
The question is, what is happening that a ship sinks and everybody dies, and the next day another ship comes and you are still boarding it? So that is where the problem lies. So the frustration out here is like, okay, if I don't go, I will die anyway. And so with that, and knowing that Trump has made it categorically clear what his immigration policy would be, a lot of people are blacks and people, even Spaniards, are so worried about Trump's coming to power, because they feel that all those that are hanging out there who have not regularized their immigration status will be deported to their countries. this is not all negative. As Dr. Nick said, difficulty is the father of invention. When you start knowing that you have to go back home, you start preparing how you will learn at home. So it is like, and this is one positive part that I like about Trump winning the elections in America. Because we have resorted, it has been like running away from Africa is a solution for young Africans. No, it is not. Running away, as difficult as it is, we can still find ways to do it, to do it, because things are not going to, I would say things are not going to remain the same forever. Things will change. So the main concern is those who are already in the US, to answer your question directly, they feel that they may be, those who are not regular, they feel that they may be deported following what Trump promised. And their relations that may have spent a lot of money to get them to the US feel that they may, if they are deported, they are going to lose that money. And honestly, it will bring a lot of frustration. But I want to tell you that if you look at the other side of that coin, even if they are deported, their thinking will start. Traveling is a degree you don't get in the classroom. Their thinking will start changing. And I think that those who have the courage to learn back will be more determined to come out to invent something like Dr. Nick said about carrying a part of that company that you are working in down there and bringing it back up. That's what 25 years ago, the Koreans, the Chinese, they were about the same level as us. What happened? They went to America, they brought back technology. And they are where they are today. We have gone to America, we only come back, we know the way we come back with use goods, and then so that is the difference. And for Africa to move on, I want to tell you, Dr. Ni, the potential in Africa are enormous. If we just take a resolution, let's say the African Union sees and say, okay, from now henceforth, we are not going to export any raw materials. Our doors are open. Investors should come in. Anybody wants to take wood, process it in Africa, and go away and go home with your finished product. Anything. If you do that, within 5-10 years, you'll be surprised that migration will change. Because money is found in supply chain and not in exportation of raw materials. The amount of jobs created will be so enormous that you find people, the migration trend will change within 5-10 years. And I think that should be our line of thinking.
Do you understand why Africans should is lot more interest in these American elections than they do with what obtains, take for example, what is happening in Africa? We saw people who could kill one another for an election that is taking place in the United States, but you hardly hear them talk about what is happening back here.
Yeah, Mr. Leonard, it is very sincere. To be very sincere and open, America is a free world. America is a free world because we have seen in it the Universal Declaration of Human Rights like it was formulated by Americans on the eve of the United Nations creation. And a lot of that, up to today, America is the only place where the whole world is fighting for a cover. When you look at it, the word freedom that America has. Right home here, we have few who are permanently and always on media. It does not mean that we are the lone people who could talk. Meaning somewhere, Dr. Ni might have overcome fear of talking because there's a problem with talking in Africa. Somewhere you find people like in Uganda, for 42 years, you still behave like the man of 16 years. It is what you will not find in America. You saw during the first era of Donald Trump how people publicly attacked the president. President Emmanuel Macron was slapped by a roadside vendor. And things you might not, how you can't talk about a leader, you have the power even going closer to him. We have seen how we have that oppressive dictatorial system in Africa, which others, even when you find in a crisis zone, people are fighting in Sudan. Do you know the name they are calling there? They are calling for America to bring assistance, to give people who are suffering as refugees, meaning you are fighting for America to bring you aids. You can imagine that. So within it, many Africans have been taken, including parents today. There are parents who are telling you that better be free in Cameroon. I will spend the least of my franc. You go to America. Because we believe that America is life. America is liberty. America is prosperity. I mean, the moment you cross the ocean, the family starts smiling. Some people refuse completely from doing anything at home because the person who is in the United States has put you on some percentage of remittance. The remittances that are falling off from America, they are coming in dollars. Because when somebody sends $350, which you say is 300 francs, you go there, the bank is giving you 200,000. And they say just $350. There are a lot of disadvantages but we don't know that it took time. Nobody might have read the Wars of Independence and the Declaration of American Independence. Those guys sacrifice. Even what we are talking today, we talk about the Michelle Obama. Nobody has thought of what happened to people like Malcolm X and what happened to the Martin Luther King Jr. They sacrifice. People sacrifice their own life for the liberty which we are fighting to go and enjoy. What we are going to enjoy there, we are not ready to stand the same fight in our own continent. This is what is happening. And to maybe buttress or corroborate what Dr. Nick said, it is time for Africans to start thinking. Even when people, I believe even Jarvis wrote, he wrote something after the elections that Obama deported more than Trump did.
Yes, of course.
Yes, I'm not saying that it is wrong, but when you talk, it's like it's a negative value for Americans. Americans voted their president, and they voted him to work for America. And so the African mindset that the leader is to decide for them, and that it should be at their advantage. He was not voted. Even Trump has been voted. It's not voted for Africans. And so we should equally admit that the elections in America, in one way or the other, Trump coming to power, it is near time. But as African leaders even sat one time to think that somebody is telling you that I will build a wall. Do you know what it means? That you visit somebody every day. You want to eat from what his dogs are eating, which means you are reducing the ration that is reserved for his animals. And he's telling you, I'm going to build a barrier so that this man will not be visiting me again. Do you sit back and think why this person is thinking of building a wall? You mean that somewhere we are shitholes. We are unable to govern ourselves. A lot of those characteristics. As citizens die at sea, as citizens are in difficulties in other countries, very few has conveyed a special flight to say those who are in Libya, please come home. You are in Dubai, come back home. The people in Oman, you are in difficulties, come back home. What reason? People will tell you that I prefer to die. Can you imagine? We are not talking about Lebanon. We are talking of Libya, where they check men, look at the size of your testes to buy the man to be carried above the other side of the sea. Meaning in Libya, even presently, we have where human beings are being sold as a price of a goat. And nobody thinks about that. The African Union we are calling, at what level they are, a puppet organization. Meaning a woman made a declaration at the level of the United Nations telling the whole world how France is the cause of African problem and how we can overcome it. What happened? It is just to call Mahamat, the president, the commission president of African Union, that dismissed that woman from the United Nations. And the African Union asked the woman to leave immediately, that she's no longer under the cover of the AU. This is the African continent. So the elections in America has been a leeway for us to cover our dirty leniencies. And we think that having a leader that will become so rigid against some of those rules which we have been gaining may cause us to be exposed to some inhuman treatment within the continent. We know what our leaders are. Power, you can say anything, but those in power don't talk about power. And we have known how it has always ended up. Some has made a lot of research to maintain political power, but we doubt why they are unable to carry out research for economic autonomy of the continent, because we have a lot. Like a lot people are saying, Africa is a proud destination. Yeah. Africa is about a proud destination. Others have made analysis in every part of the world. They take our resources back to Europe, then bring it back in the form of aids. And when you look, I don't talk the side of finished product. I'm talking of the aids they bring to Africa. And they will tell you that we brought back $500 million as aids. Did they equally give us the account of what they took out as raw materials? No organization will tell you that one, because that part of the story is not of interest to them. Their interest is to keep molesting, intimidating, and making you to feel like the junior one. Yes, a lot of our players here. You imagine what Samuel Eto'o stands for of recent. That if there's going to be a time when all African stars will come back to Africa and develop the African football industry, so that when we sit, I should be talking of El Ahly of Egypt, or Zamalek, or Enyimba, or maybe Botafogo Football Club, rather than singing Real Madrid, Manchester United, Liverpool, or whatsoever. So this is the level where the mindset, if we can think, and that's where I may come in, that it is time for us to start thinking of the new generation African leaders. Who are the leaders we are going? Dr. Nick listed a lot of other issues. A leader should come to power with an interest or objective. I am coming for the economy. You passed your 4 years. Economically, we were not eating yesterday and we are eating now. Those are the statistics that brought Trump to power. When I was in power, people could eat. When I was in power, fuel was down. When I was in power, and people start judging. Now we are unable to have good salary. There are no jobs. There is no food. Then there is a need to bring him back. Can we evaluate ourselves in this order? But I said the past map we have had in Africa is that he has been the longest serving president. How does this help the continent? There is a need for us to accept that liberty of Americans might not necessarily mean liberty for Africans, because the American rights ends where the Cameroonian or African own begins. But then, the fact that you have to move around your country or your continent, you don't have the same right to enter or access another person's country. Do not concern with this fact in immigration. What are we even going there to do? Hold your leaders responsible and make them develop a nation. Africa is beautiful. And I'm telling you, nobody knows that at the cost of economic depression, the continent that comes at the salvage or to save the world is the African continent. That is when new materials or new minerals are discovered. That is when new industries are coming to Africa to take in more of the resources, bring technology, uranium, in fact, a lot of it. So bring these companies here, Africans will stay back to their continent, and then we stop the oppressive regimes that are intimidating a lot of their citizens.
Yeah, Tamai Jarvis, let's look at Trump. He has taken over power. We see NATO is already in a panic mood. Russia is also in a calculative mood, as well as China. We saw what happened when Trump was president. The relationship between China and Russia, the rocket man. The rocket man of North Korea.
Even EU leaders are...
Yeah. So how do you foresee this relationship?
I think I foresee a mutually beneficial relationship, because if you look at 1920, the policy of isolationism, the policy of isolationism that was brought forth enabled the America to focus on internal policy and the rest of the world to develop their own nation. And now, if you look at what Trump's policy is, based on his unpredictability, and he's almost practicing the policy of 1920s of isolationism, that is, let us focus on America, and all of our resources should be on America. Whatever people want to do, you should do in your country. And I think this is going to empower Africa. And one of the reasons why the establishment fought Trump in his first mandate was because of his anti-immigration policy. His anti-immigration policy actually opened the eyes of many African nations and actually made African leaders to understand that they have to take full responsibility on developing their country, ensuring that the people of their country have what it takes to live as a people and as a nation. They should have a nation that they can have portable drinking water, that they can have electricity supply, that they can be rule of law, that they can be freedom of expression, and that they can be accountability. And that was why he described African continent as a shithole nation. In that context, that is a nation where anything goes, leaders don't take accountable, and anything can happen. And that was a wake-up call for us Africans. And when he brought in his anti-immigration policy, a lot of us, including those who are watching, are against it because we are so entitled. We have the entitlement syndrome where with us in Africa, we believe that for us to succeed, somebody somewhere must give us the opportunity. And that is America. And that's why you see when Trump campaigned in 2016 on the basis of mass deportation, when he did that, our African brothers were so mad. And that's why you see even the vote this time around, the African vote, he did not have enough African vote as compared to Harris. They were so mad. And even you can Google it. It's there. Now, Trump, who campaigned on mass deportation, they say he's a racist, Now, let's look at the number of deportation. Between 2017, January 20, when he took over, to January 20, 2021, Trump deported 2 million people. If you subtract 3.2 million from Trump, who deported 2 million people, it means Obama deported 1.2 million additional people. Let us look at that the rationale. Who is those anti-immigration? Is it the person that talk, or is it the person that do? If you look at also the second man, I don't want to compare the second mandate now because it has not started. Now, how is Africa going to be affected, and how is the world? Let us start with Ukraine. Trump before now has made it clear that his only interest in Ukraine is that Ukraine should not join NATO and Russia will not attack Ukraine and the world will be at peace. Today we are affected by wheat. We don't have enough wheat. Why? Because of the Russia-Ukraine war. The wheat prices has increased. Ukraine and Russia is the highest producer, second by Ukraine in the world with wheat. And our agricultural institution, our government in Africa, instead of looking at ways where they can mass produce wheat, give knowledge to institution, empower institution, schools that do agriculture, they see how they can subsidize and give the materials to train students. Instead, they rush and were begging Russia and begging Ukraine to stop the war. They were signing motions, sanctioning this and that. Look at prices of fuel. Transportation has increased because our refined petrol is coming from Russia and part of the other side of the world. With this war, it has increased, everything has increased, and so with Trump's availability, if the war in Ukraine comes to an end, wheat prices will drop. Cameroon, since we are lazy, we are consumers who enjoy the benefit. Fuel, it will a bit drop. Since we are lazy and will consume. Now, look at also, let's keep away Ukraine. Let us look at the war in the Middle East. The Middle East also is supplying us with accurate amount of fuel and petroleum products. If there is this peace in the Middle East, oil prices will further drop. Rice that we are consuming is coming from where? Most of the Middle East and China. Now, since we are so lazy to produce, as the war is going on, we are begging and praying that war should end. Trump policy is that I want to end war. If I end the war, it will be a ripple effect. Let us look at how much aid Trump gave to Africa for his first mandate, financial aid, and how much Obama gave, or the Democrat, let me see the Democrat, including Biden, gave. Trump's aid to Africa is massive. To assist Africa in terms of this were the areas, energy, electricity, water, and of course, education. Those were the areas they focused on in his administration. And look at the amount of money that was coughed out. So today, when I see Africans blaming the man for adopting his pro-policy, I laugh because I think that the same thing we are experiencing in Cameroon, a lot of people don't understand. Look at most of those who own cafeterias in your locality. Who are they? I don't want to call a particular country. You will know they are not Cameroonians. Those in Douala, 60% of those who are in Douala in terms of driving bike who are black, you know where they are coming from. We are experiencing, and very soon, there are some jobs that Cameroonians, you go to take like security. They will tell you that they will give you 100,000. A Cameroonian will not take, those people will take for 30,000. And so a Cameroonian loses a job. And that's why you see unemployment is gradually increasing in Cameroon on a daily basis because there are no menial jobs that a Cameroonian cannot take for 50,000. Let us take for 20,000. And so we are experiencing this go across all the sectors. It's gradually taking shape. But we want to see Trump. Equatorial Guinea is repatriating Africans at the goal. We are not complaining. Egypt, you cannot go into Egypt without a visa. Tunisia, we are not complaining, but in America, we are complaining. We have to take our responsibility. That entitlement syndrome has come into us, and that's why you see the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, and also Trump is going to look at the policy. Like when we were coming here, one of the policy that I looked at, he talked about is the fact that African leaders should sit up and understand that they must fix their country because America cannot be a dumping ground.
Yeah, but how do we understand these insults, attacks on an American president by Africans?
Thank you very much. Jarvis said it all. It's an entitlement kind of thing, mentality. And we don't think out of the box. We have our own shortcomings and we put them on some other person. Now, though you have asked me a question, let me use the TV time you have given me now to rephrase and answer a different question that you have not asked me. It boils down to economics. It boils down to youths having money in their pockets, un point entry. Now, this is it. America was aware of this for a very long time. And you know that when African countries, when you export something to other countries, when the things get to those ports, they are taxed, right? And so, starting with Bush, they put in this thing called AGOA, African Growth Opportunities Act. That thing was put in place. I've forgotten the exact date. Then, just when Prime Minister Yang was still in place, you know, the first phase of that AGOA lasted 15 years. And I am aware of the AGOA. I will talk to you about it in a moment. But I was aware of it because we went to America, to Washington, about 36 of us. We went on a ticket of the U.S. Embassy. And what the American government was trying to do was to bring together Cameroonian businessmen as well as American businessmen to do business. Why so? Because they thought that it was not proper to be giving Africans money, and they thought that if they could empower Africans, then Africans could come up to speed and take care of themselves. This is something they have been trying to do, and therefore they came up with this AGOA thing. And what is the spirit and the logic of the AGOA? African countries that are under that program, they say, create industries in your nations, produce whatever goods that you want to produce at international standards, load them in containers as many as you can, bring them over to America. There is no 1 franc that you're going to pay as custom duty. Enter the American market, sell those things, carry your dollars and go back to your home. As simple as that. Very simple. Now, what did Africans do? What did Cameroon do? That thing, that first phase was lasting 15 years. And I was sitting, I don't know whether I was in Bamenda, and I heard Philemon Yang with his ministers. They had this ministerial thing, and they were discussing AGOA for the first time in the 14th year. And the first time we went to that AGOA thing was in 2006, and it had already been existing. That was to Washington. And we went back again to Chicago in 2008. Now it tells you the lenteur, that sluggishness, the disconnect, inability to wake up to situations. And countries like Kenya have taken advantage of it, Ghana, Nigeria, and so on. But we are here sleeping. And the question thus is, why does that happen? We'll come back to it. What were the many other opportunities that the Americans were putting on the plate for us? So when we went to this meeting in Washington, so we talked about AGOA, and we talked about OPIC, Overseas Private Investment Corporation. And what was the Overseas Private Investment Corporation? That you, a Cameroonian, you can think of creating a company, and then because you don't have the resources and the machinery and the technology, come over to America, partner with an American company, bring over the company to Cameroon, and then start to produce and sell in America or sell anywhere, but on condition that the Americans would have a minimum of 40% shares in that company. Simple as that, straightforward. Then the other thing that they taught us was, what did they call it? Exim Bank. The opportunities that Exim Bank had. What were these opportunities? With Exim Bank, you could do this. You could go into the American market, buy anything that you wanted from the American market and bring over to Cameroon. And what were the conditions? Let's suppose that I went over to America and I made a container load of these phones, and the total cost of the container was 100 francs. What did Exim Bank say? Just pay 15 francs, and then we'll do the paperwork, and Exim Bank America would pay the rest of the money, and then you can come and sell your goods and pay up with a little token on top of it. Just as simple as that. And these are all the opportunities that America laid out there for us, but we have not taken advantage of any of them. We are very lazy, and we don't do the right things. Everyone else is doing things, but we just have this, number one, this entitlement kind of mindset. Number two, fonctionnaire kind of mindset, concours fonctionnaire. it's really killing us, this matricule syndrome kind of thing. It looks like if you don't work and have a matricule, you are a nobody.
Yes.
Yet there are so many opportunities
Matricule
out there.
syndrome.
Matricule syndrome. So, like I'm saying, might be our brothers that are going to be coming back. They have been exposed to entrepreneurial ideas, and when they come back, they would take advantage of some of these things, and we'll begin to see a change, and they will create jobs. And that's why I'm saying, and of course, it works very well now because President Paul Biya has put in place this import substitution thing, which will lead us to Emergence 2035. And we are still praying that the president is going to allow new industries to be set up in Cameroon, so that when you set up an industry, you would go for 10, 15 years without paying any tax. You would employ about 100 Cameroonians. You would train and all. There is a lot that has to go in to make industrialization and the transfer of technology to Cameroon a reality. So the fact that Cameroonians and Africans will be coming back is not a bad thing. We just need to think, and we'll be okay.
But Doctor, in the higher education policy statement,
yes,
that was published, signed by President Paul Biya, there was a clause there that if companies want to get students on internship,
yes,
most of these companies will have tax holidays.
Yes,
it's clear on the.
It's clear
that most companies have not exploited that.
Yes, most companies have not exploited that. It's a policy document, but we need to put in more clauses. That was not enough. Okay. And don't forget, it was written by civil servants. But you need more entrepreneurs to yes. So, you know, it's civil servants that wrote that yes, Emergence 2035. When you read that, all of that document is bullshit. It has nothing in it. So the civil service mentality, they are not exposed to job creation and the strategies and so on. So when they write things, they write it with an enam mind, which does not work.
Okay.
We are the education domain, and at times when we make some declaration, we should be sure of what we are doing.
Okay.
Yeah. The new program for academics in Cameroon, the failure of that program comes with Cameroonian social entrepreneurs and investors, which I've seen several times. When you get into that program, it is what we have today, the proliferation of private universities. Private universities were created more of a professional domain. Everybody, there are about 500 of them. All. They don't train academic degrees, except in partnership with the state university. All of them must start as professional based, and which entrepreneurship is one of the centers of study. Which means that even those who drafted that program has an idea. Somewhere in the build up to that program, there was an agreement between the private sector and the Ministry of Higher Education, which equally today have right. The law provides to at least 30% of those courses in that program should be taught by professionals. And if you get to some schools who are trying to implement that, which means if you have a course like entrepreneurship and you have a successful CEO who gets to class and inspired, it will be preferable that such a person teaches the course than a regular academic teacher. That if you have a course like law and that you realize that there is a lawyer who is more successful and that is coming to class, it is preferable to take such a person as a teacher than a regular academic teacher. Yeah. So these are some certain things maybe we are not aware. You have a course there, you have shipping, building and mining, petroleum, forestry management in these programs.
Even journalism.
Journalism, it is there. Then you find now when you get into training of the same private university we are talking about, you realize that a lot are still focused into what? Banking, marketing, accounting. And I asked them, you are training human resource managers. What are they going to manage? Who are they going to manage? You train marketers. What are they going to sell? Who has produced what for them to sell? So we were supposed to take ourselves off. There is agriculture in that program.
Yes, there are
agriculture. There's land management in that program.
Even engineering.
Engineering, software engineering. You will not find this.
So the problem also, yes, the problem also is with the proprietors.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The investors, yes, the investors and the parents. Yes. The parents, because education at times starts at home. Some parents just leave the house. You have 4 papers. You just do your accounting because we have seen one accountant there. He's making a lot of money. Nobody cares to know that that accountant worked within a different era, and that the generation today. I've seen a lot of children and parents who have come to me. If you cannot do information management system, I send you to software engineering or hardware or public works or civil engineering. That's what I've been diverting. And I've been going. I said, I don't need this issue of logistics and transport. You want to work in which logistic company? Have you created yours? How many of them exist? You want to work at Central Voyage or Guarantee Express? Is that your idea? Get somewhere that by the time you're leaving after 3 years, even if they don't give you a computer, use your same money, buy a computer and start typing letters, start typing notes, start producing documents. That is what secretariat duty is. So somebody that does secretariat studies is better than somebody that is doing marketing. Because the next day the guy will start printing document. He will start producing one himself. Meaning it can be an auto or self-employed person. Let's get to the program. It's a very big volume. I'm telling you about volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. But you take all of them, because in all the volumes, they have their specifications. And if we tie on one, because Dr. Nick is training nurses, so me too, I can only open nurses. Because nurses are doing well now.
Everywhere,
yes.
everybody
We train nurses.
Yeah, I know you're giving the microphone. I'm saying something because I want to thank Dr. Akah for saying this, because he brings up something that's very important. We have a certain mindset, because Mr. Tazi buys taxis, everybody else buys taxis. In fact, can you imagine that under the Ministry of Higher Education, there are 200 institutions training nurses? Just higher education. Then to that, you add the schools of the Ministry of Health, as many as this, training nurses. Then the Ministry of Vocational training nurses. Then the Ministry of Armed Forces, training nurses. It's a full, sir. We don't think out of the box. And then when it comes to like the marketing, you ask the right question. Everybody, marketing, banking. Who is the Bamilekes who do who earn the money in this Cameroon? You think the Bamileke man doesn't know where to put his money? You are doing banking and you don't know how to make 1,000, but you are studying banking. It's a problem. You are doing this marketing. What do you want to sell? After that, to sell Chinese goods. So we need to think, and he was reorientating us. And one other big error too with this private higher institutes is that everybody, we are 500 of us. You go and check. The 500 have the same organization to do the same thing. With a list of stuff starting from here and ending down there. You will see a school in Bamenda, also doing shipbuilding in Bamenda. All those kind of things. A crazy thing. But when you go to Rwanda, the schools are, how do you say it? They're specialized.
Yes.
They're specialized. So that you put your energy and grow vertically instead of this horizontal spread, which is yielding nothing. Sorry, I took the microphone from you.
Okay, Donald Trump yesterday, while addressing his supporters, said that they said I was going to cause wars. I am not going to cause any war. I will stop wars. That's what he said yesterday.
Yeah, I think that at my opening statement, I said Donald Trump is better for the world. And this happens to be one of the areas where he will be a better president than any Democrat would have been. I foresee Donald Trump ending the Ukraine war, because he's somebody, Donald Trump has, when it comes to this war issue, if he did not fight during his first term because of his private internal secretary, this guy, he gave me a lot of bad advice about attacking Iran. John Bolton.
Yes, John Bolton.
John Bolton.
Yes.
So, but he resisted that. So if you come, my guess and my forecast for Ukraine is that Donald Trump is going to sit down the NATO guys and tell them you know what? He has said it before, even before the campaign, that Zelensky is a very smart businessman. He comes here, he talks to you, you give him billions, he goes.
A commercial.
Yes,
commercial agent.
So I think that is going to is the opportunity now for him to look into that. And what is he going to do? The only problem that Russia, when you look at the Ukraine war, if you look at the Ukraine war from face value, you can think that President Putin is a warmonger. No, he's not. In life, I have this principle, Mr. Kum. If I want to do something to you, if I want to seize your phone, I should ask myself whether if you seize my phone, I will be comfortable about it. So long as you will not be comfortable with me confiscating your phone, don't confiscate my phone, because I'm still a human being. What is happening in Ukraine is actually created by the US from their coup of 2014. They have changed the coup d'etat that CIA coup d'etat that changed the power in Ukraine. Then they came in now. Putin has told them, if you want to look at Putin's speeches for the last 20 years, he has told the world. Read all his speeches for international conferences for the last 20 years, told them, you have done this in 13 times, please. You are not going to do it the 14th time. It is a red line, don't cross. In 1990, what an agreement. USSR is going to break down to 15 countries. You are not going to accept any of them into NATO. You have taken 13 already. Ukraine and Russia are the red line. Don't try it with Ukraine. The reason we will not do it. What are you doing to the other person? What you cannot allow to be done to you? That's how the Americans have provoked the Ukraine war. And Trump is that guy who is looking at you and saying no. And Putin has a line. No NATO for Ukraine and there's peace. That's simple. And America, in fact, America would have attacked 13 times before now if America was in the shoes of Russia. Because each time that you try to any Chinese or Russian attempts to be military bases in Mexico or Bahamas, the Americans are going to strike immediately. But you are doing that to another person 13 times, and they have tolerated it. And there's the 14th time will be a red line, and you are doing it because you feel that Russia is a former USSR that was dismantled, and there's nothing that they can do. I foresee Trump sitting down Zelensky and putting the cards on the table and telling them, Zelensky, you don't have to join NATO to stop the war. I foresee that coming. Coming to the Middle East, he told the Israelis during his campaign that you have to round up your war quickly before I become president.
Yeah,
yes, he said, round up what you are doing quickly before I become president. And I foresee him coming in there because, so that's why I said Trump is better for world peace and world politics than the Democrats. Because the Democrats, they are just pumping money into Ukraine without any reason. And this is destabilizing the world because that war, any morning, any night, can spill into a nuclear war. The Israeli attack on Iran, any morning, any night can spill into anything. And we need somebody who will talk some sense into these guys and bring them together so that we can have some peace around the world.
If you look at what happened in the Trump's first administration, when he was having a word of words with the Rocket Man, from the beginning, everybody thought that U.S. and North Korea were going to actually attack. And Trump did something historic. He became the first president in U.S. history to get into the demilitarized zone and actually shook the hand of Kim Jong-un. And if you realize, during that period, North Korea and South Korea had a restraint. There was no much of a tension between the two sides. So I want to believe that this is the same approach which is going to take, because he said in one of his interviews that John Bolton had given him an advice to actually attack Iran. Yes. And he refused, because if an attack of Iran, it would be a major escalation. And now this is what what Mr. Tazi said. I know Dr. Akah will disagree with this, but there's something we must look at history here. During the Cuban Mixer crisis in 1953, between Batista and Hugo, with Batista, this was what happened. There was an American president called John Franklin Kennedy. In that speech, which became known as the Bay of Pigs incident, he said that, fellow citizens, arise, the security of our country is in danger. The mixer of our enemies are within the short range of our major cities. The future generation of America will not forgive us if we fail to react. This was Franklin Kennedy reacting to the Russia planting of mixer in Cuba. And he said the future generation of America will not forgive us if we fail to react. In 2020, the tapes are seen that Trump was asked, what if Russia come and build a military base in Mexico? Trump said that will be a red line and America will strike the next day and Russia will not do it. And now if you look at, we are talking about this escalation, and this escalation will go along. I know the argument will be, is Ukraine not a sovereign nation? And I'll ask another question. Is Cuba not a sovereign nation? Is Mexico not a sovereign nation? So Venezuela, are they not a sovereign nation? Why is it the sovereignty is only on Ukraine and that sovereignty doesn't lie on the other side? To me, I believe that as Trump has taken it, he said, I'm going to stop wars. He told them that his objective is that the world should be at peace. And look at the issue of de-dollarization. Many people are not looking at that. Trump is calling for the fact that this war should stop, because the more the war, the more Russia, China, North Korea and the rest become so friendly, and they can have a common currency and dollars will fall. So if the war persists, that pressure on look at BRICS, how the strength of BRICS became more effective in the Biden administration, and the cause of the war, when Russia was isolated, BRICS came into power.
The way you speak, it looks like Russia, Putin is a saint.
No, I'm not saying he's a saint.
I'm not sure Dr. Akah buys exactly what you're saying.
He knows very well that I'm not of the Russian Putin regime, the system and the policies of Putin. They made analysis I don't understand, but I want to tell people too that in 2008, Russia attacked Georgia. it was not about NATO. That in 2014, Russia attacked Crimea, it was not about NATO. And that we are talking of 2022, attacking Ukraine and putting NATO as a stumbling block. No, if you don't know Russia, then you are not of the Russian regime.
Yeah, but this war between Russia and Ukraine, I'm sure this should be the 7th war.
Russia has been fighting
It's
with
NATO related, Dr. Akah. Even
no, wait. Yes, it's NATO related.
Yeah,
Then I'm asking you that the war with Georgia, if it is NATO, or the one in South Ossetia, which is now part of Russia, is it NATO? The one in Crimea, was it NATO? We should get... Putin came to like somebody who abandoned the agreements of 1990 and with the regrets of losing the Soviet Union. Putin has within it that there's an interest to bring some more territories. Nobody will deny that one. Putin has... There are wars presently in the Balkans. Putin is fighting alone. He drives, shifts people, kills, threatens some, send them away from their homes. Nobody's talking about that one. I'm asking whether there's NATO in those places. And because yes, somewhere there's Ukraine and there's NATO, yes, they have a reason. Getting Israel closer to his border, yes. But should that explain the other wars? Why have you conquered southern part of Georgia? Why are you in South Ossetia? Wait. No, it's not. That's what I'm asking. Why are you in Crimea? Is Crimea NATO? That's what we are asking.
Was it not a coup d'etat?
Please. No. That's why he said when you present, it's like Putin has an angelic image against the whole world. One thing I want you to know is that the BRICS you are talking were created at the heights of Trump, but they went low because of personal contact between Trump and Putin. That one you cannot
have evidence, doctor. That one is
no, we are not talking. We are talking facts. Let me talk. You were talking that Trump, even being out of office, has called Putin more than 7 times, which no other person does that for
He does.
Good.
Yes, he does.
So when we come now, if he has to end the war, we still be a gentleman agreement between the two. It is certain.
Okay.
Ending war, please. Not fighting North Korea doesn't mean North Korea was not developing its weapons. To my greatest understanding, all those nations go quiet, develop their weapons, and there will always be a need to test the efficiency of those weapons. And they will develop them when you are quiet with them, and then use them when they want to portray their interest. You will not stop Iran from using missiles or sending them. They might be quiet. North Korea will do it. Russia will test all the weapons it's developing, except in a war. If not, where will they know the efficiency of their weapon? They will go low with their friends and use them against their enemies. Not just Biden has been an enemy to Putin. And so it was normal that a gentleman agreement kept Putin quiet during Trump era, and came surface, the weapons will be used. Yes, it's normal. So we cannot stop as if it is Trump that made the world a peaceful world when weapons were developed under the table. We cannot. Those weapons used now were not developed during Biden.
Okay.
No.
We are going to organize a different.
Dans tous les sens.
Going out to Russia. Yes, I want us to stay with Trump. He is now the president, and a majority of Americans are the ones who voted for him, and he's going to lead America for the next 4 years. I want us to look at how Africa should engage America to take benefits, because whatever we are doing, we should look at what. Yes.
Yes, that's it. Thank you very much. We need to. You are asking me a question. You know how we can engage with America.
Yes.
You know how do we do it? Now, to understand what we should do, just leave America as it is and let's come and look at principles, because it is those principles that would apply. Whether it was with who is the same principles. Number one, you know, whatever happens to you, I always give this this example of our fireside. I hope that's good English, where you have 3 stones. So whatever happens to you is dependent on 3 elements, like the tripod of a camera. One is you. What is your contribution? The second one is what is it that other people are doing to you. And the third one is nature, God. That's how it works. Now, America could try to do the best for us, but if we are doing nothing ourselves, nothing will work. So when Trump is calling us shithole countries, it's because he has so much to give you, but you cannot take it. And he is right. And I learned about this. You know, a moment ago I was telling you about OPEC, AGOA, Exim Bank. Honestly, the experience, and you said it, of course, traveling is the greatest teacher. Yeah. And then meeting with people who are smarter than you is the greatest teacher. You learn a lot, and then you can go very fast if you can make use of it. Now, when we had these meetings, the Americans were willing to give us just about anything. And I was sitting in this meeting in the hall, and I'm asking myself, you know, it was a rhetorical question. I'm asking myself, what can America give us? And the answers from what they were saying is, they give you everything. You remember it was at Christmas, and technically the Americans brought to us a basket of goodies. You know, Christmas, Father Christmas brings to you a basket of goodies, and there's everything in that basket. And you, the African, is like, Father Christmas, what should I take? But the interesting thing is, the Father Christmas is telling you, take what you can. Father Christmas is not giving you, it's you to take. And interestingly, do you know the problem that we have? Somebody is giving you something, but you cannot take. You don't have the capacity to take. Yes, that is the problem. That is the problem of Africa and Africans. You have not developed your capacity to take anything. So it doesn't matter what the world is giving you, offering you. They're not going to come and spoon feed you. Even when they come and even build a road for us, we are unable to keep it, to maintain it. That is a problem.
Even building a road for us, even.
Yes, even. So you go to our airports, they come and build, we cannot even take care of them. So that is the greatest problem. Like we said, one of the stones is, what are you doing? What are your capacities? The other stone is, what can others do for you, either good or bad? And how are you going to react to that? And then the other one is nature. What do I mean by nature? Okay, look at Cameroon. We are a blessed nation, great vegetation, great fertile soils, great rainfall, great temperatures. What are we doing with our fertile lands? Nothing. Buying rice from wherever and all whatnot. You see how dumb we are? Then you go to a country like Dubai. Dubai is just, I mean, the United Arab Emirates. Yes. I'm telling you, it's sand. But those fellows are 100 times, 200 times, 500 times better than us.
They're feeding us.
Sand. So God has, honestly, I cry. Cameroon is the richest and the best country in Africa. Cameroon has blessed. God has blessed us in the world. So when it comes to what God has given, no country is better than Cameroon.
No, none.
And then other countries like America are trying to help us. What is the problem of Cameroon? It's us. So that's why I'm saying that all those our brothers should come back. Let us build this country. And that's why I'm telling the president, give all those people, give those people double nationalities. Yes. Let them bring those things. Let us together we build. If we are broke, it's not because God is wicked. If we are broke, it's not because America is wicked. What is the problem? The problem is you and I.
You and I. The no-nonsense posture of Trump, we know that he described most of us as shithole nations. Is this going to also? Is this also going to push us to work extra harder to look into what we need to do as Africans, and not because it is also shameful, humiliating for us to be described like shithole nations.
Mr. Kum, I think that I don't know whether
the guy is blunt. He says it's.
I don't know whether.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah. What I don't know is what I don't know is whether what you call shame even means anything to African leaders. Because if he meant anything, when he told them that the first time, I will stop. I want to tell you, I will make sure my country stop begging for America. From the day he called me that name, I will make sure I do everything and stop it. But then, what did our leaders do when he insulted them? I mean, I'll tell you, if I'm a president, I will not go for American-African summit. I will not go for Chinese. I will not go to anybody's country. If you have something to discover, go to Addis Ababa. Let that Chinese president come here and meet all the 54 of us. We have made ourselves beggars so that we feel that anytime Turkey calls us, we carry 24 presidential jets and go to Turkey. Japan calls us, we carry 24. 54. And then 54, my brother. And then we are so rich that these guys, if we lock the borders of Africa, Africa can survive. I don't think there's any other continent in the world that will survive.
COVID gave us the
opportunity. Yes.
We made
so,
of it.
So, Mr. Kun, following what Dr. Nick said, what can we offer? What can we offer? During the COVID, I listened to the Rwanda president. He said in 3 years, Rwanda is going to stop importing wheat. And that he was going to develop wheat fields and the Rwandese will plant wheat. That is the approach to take. Take the difficulty and transform it into a strength. So our leader, I'm not even sure that those things, I'm sure if President Trump calls our leaders and sits in meeting and call them that name and give them food, they will still eat. Because for me, I will not eat that food. Because at times you have to make sure, you are a leader of a country like America, for God's sake. Why do you decide to be a beggar for 50, 60 years? I spoken about value chain. We have all the naturals. Why can we not say that America, bring your money, like Dr. Nee went there, you tell me about 30 of you went there.
36
Cameroonian entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Okay. They went there, it was supposed to come out with 36 investors.
Yes.
And they said, Dr. Nick, St. Louis University, you have St. Louis University project. This guy is investing in education. This one says, I'm investing in agriculture. They come and invest here. The first thing, Dr. Kum, is that our youth will be employed by all those projects.
Yes.
Our youth will find jobs there. They will train our youth. The expertise, when they come, they will train. Eventually, as they are moving out, our youth will take over the management of those projects. What is going to be the impact of that on our economy? So what is happening is, I think that we need to start catching these opportunities and making very good use of them. Something that Africans have refused to do. And that's why I think that Donald Trump should deport as many Africans as possible. So when they come back to Africa, difficulty is the father of invention. When they come back, they'll be able to sit and say, okay, so I'm now back in Africa. What can I do?
Why would you pray for Africans to be deported?
Yeah, I'm talking about Donald Trump's policy, not me. For me,
okay,
for that particular policy, I call Donald Trump racist. Because even his own parents, his grandfather came from Germany, and then the mother came from Scotland.
And the wife is from Slovenia. Why
so he's the beneficiary of from the immigrant generation. Why do you have to hate other immigrants and not? But as I said, the two parts of the coin, deporting people is not what hurts people. I've said people have invested, people have longed to be in America and everything. But then the other part of the coin, I have this Chinese great entrepreneur who told me that each time there's a big rock and nobody sees the opportunity, he puts on his glasses and he looks critical. This Greek is a Greek, and then he will see a silver line on that very wall.
Yes.
So in that very war that Donald Trump is going to create before Africans and all and deport all of them, there's a silver line.
Opportunities.
Yes.
Yes. There's a silver lining in every cloud.
In entrepreneurship, Dr. Nick, we know that it is what we converting brain drain to brain gain.
Yes.
It's a policy everywhere.
Yes.
For serious nation.
Yes.
Chinese did it.
Yes.
I mean, under the Ahijo regime, it was possible that we sent students to Canada, wheresoever, and they come back, and they prepared them a pay package that will encourage them to come back. People were coming. We presently have teachers that went to Canada, America, Britain, came back. Yes.
Going to Canada.
I mean, they came back. No one was left behind because there was a return. When somebody has traveled, in fact, locally, it is said that a crab that does not move does not develop fats.
Yes.
The moment when you move, by the time you are coming, you're not coming the same.
No way.
I mean, I have even felt it with my brother who just crossed near Nigeria. Get to Nigeria and make 2 years. Come back to this Cameroon.
You can never be the same.
You can never be like a Cameroonian again.
No.
This is what we call, in entrepreneurship, they call it incubation.
Yes.
Because when you develop, you go under the stairway, you are learning something. By the time you get to maturity, you come out with an open head. Everybody will feel the impact that you were coming from somewhere. So if we can transform, we don't want it, Africans should not feel like we are saying they should come back home, but that we need to change the brain drain policy. of the DV, American lottery, British or Canada lottery? How does it help back my country? I've written a book on that, Mr. Leo. Maybe we are talking.
Going and coming.
Yep. Just
yes.
Yeah, what did you explore in that in the book?
Yes, these are the issues. That is why I'm explaining to you that double nationality, because the title is Diaspora Investment and Double Nationality.
Yes.
The need for legal reforms.
Yes.
In the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will be published. So when you get there, you cry. Why are we crying of brain drain? Because we have not understood the issue of going to get the brain.
Yes.
You are going to get a brain because here it was lacking.
Yes.
You get it. You are of no value there. Those guys, you cannot compete them.
Oh God.
You take very few.
They don't need you. They don't need
I said you are of no value. If you get to America and say you are a caregiver, they are not recruiting you because you are a caregiver from. It's because your labor is cheap. But you have a bit of skill, they can manage you. They recycle because the most quality is found in America. You go to India, they will talk of IT. When you go, you leave a Cameroonian certificate, you say you are an IT, you want to work in a Chinese company, you are lying. Because the greatest expert in IT are found in India, who are not just IT, they use the same IT for medicine.
Yes.
Meaning somebody who did IT is an IT medic.
Yes.
He just simply send rays into your head and you are treated. So at what level are we in Cameroon to compare? When we go there, get the brain, come back because we are still fertile. Yes. When we talk of fertile ground in Africa, people should not look at the land.
What has been your assessment since you've written on this topic for the past 30 years? We have been going under the guise of the lottery. Do you see us getting the brains like in technology and ready to bring back? Like
that is what at that level is what we call the enabling environment. The enabling environment is that there are a lot of administrative bureaucracies. Yes, we need to stop this corruption aspect which is eating our economy and bring in a project. Please put my name, I'll gain 10%, I'm a shareholder. Somebody is bringing his investment, has his ideas. You are sitting in an office. You want to be a shareholder after you leave office. The issue of access to land has become a problem in investment. I have said there is a need. If there is an investor that is coming with a project of 100 years, government should give him land. That land should be given for him for this 100 years. After 100 years, you may ask him to start paying some royalties. Okay. He must have employed them. There's a lot in that domain.
Maybe I'll just chip in something. There are two factors, Dr. Nimes. Just reiterate. That landing ground is a big deterrence. I have personal experiences that we don't have the time here. Because you bring in, nobody wants to accept. There's no place for you to land.
Yes, no landing pad.
And then the dual nationality. So the government should, and this is on our governing bodies in Africa. You have to accept these guys to be able to live, have dual nationality, and then give them the opportunity. Give them 10 years to set up businesses without paying taxes. And then because once the business starts working,
15.
when he starts working, he cannot carry it away, so he must pay the taxes. Why are you afraid?
Even if he doesn't pay himself, the workers will pay. The workers will pay.
Yes, why are you afraid? Give him 10 years. When he says he cannot carry it again, he will be compelled to pay the tax. Why are you locking him out? Yes, why are you locking him out? He's getting employment and everything.
Okay. No. Okay. I want us to look at Donald Trump's policy of America first. Yes, is this also what other nations should adopt?
Yeah, it is also something that other nations should adopt. And if you see, when the campaign periods were ongoing in the United States of America, I lamented a lot when I look at the African continent. I lamented when I look at ECOWAS. I lamented when I look at African Union. The people from Europe, the European Union leaders, they started making their plans.
Yes.
What if it's Harris? What if it's Trump? How do we tackle this policy? How do we tackle? They had studied both policies. They started making calls. They started making calls to both parties. Japan premier came when
they were in Washington.
Yes, met Harris, met Trump. They were discussing. European Union left, came, met Harris, met Trump. Germany went. British Prime Minister that had previously insulted Trump, the current one, that said Trump was this, that. At the eve of the campaign, when met Trump, met Harris, they were actually discussing their policies. Where do we stand on this? This is where we stand on this. Let me tell you, behold, our African continent, our leaders were watching and were asking their fellow men who will win. This man, I don't like this man. I don't like. None of them came together as a bloc. I watch how in the Middle East, nations sat together, leaders, they were discussing, if it's Harris, how do we do? If it's Trump, how do we do? They were being proactive. Here we are reactive. And I tell you, our African leaders, if you go from from Cameroon to any country, they don't have a policy that will face Trump with. They will not be depending on where will America give us. Let's take. No, we have defined ourselves. So America now will take us for nothing. And that's why you see the other nations were putting their country first. Because Germany understood that it is Germany also first, because this is an American first person. Let me go and tackle him. Let me know how I can come in. So that even if he's doing American first, let me know how I can share my own policy such that we can work mutually, but it will not affect me. But all African presidents, none place a call to any of the candidates. None.
No, but they have written letters of congratulations.
It's only when the result came in and they wrote letters of congratulations. Even Zelensky met with both parties.
Yes,
even Zelensky met with both parties. Even Israel PM met with both parties. You look at even the man of Hungary called both parties. This Ukraine war, how do we do it? The man in Poland also called both parties. They were constantly in calls. Let me AU chairman Musa Faki never made a call to negotiate on African perspective, because Africa is not even a country. Negotiate on the African perspective, Musa Faki did not make a call. ECOWAS did not even care to sit as a bloc and say, okay, if African Union has failed us, how do we protect this bloc? Because we have security interests. If you look at the multinational task force, we have security interests. How will this military base, for example, Trump is talking about the issue of removing military. Now we have insecurity at the Sahel. How do we tackle the issue of insecurity? Terrorism. How do we fight terrorism? How do we face these guys to understand that we need to fight terrorism? 40 soldiers were killed in Chad. That was last week. 40 soldiers were killed by Boko Haram insurgents in Chad. In response, 40 civilians were mistook. They actually mistook them fishermen for Boko Haram militants. And the Balkan, you look at the Sahel region, is failing because Burkina Faso, Niger, they are living away from ECOWAS, and that there's that need. So how will ECOWAS strategize itself? East Africa, the only nation that I actually saw trying to do something similar, it was Kenya. William Ruto was spotted with the ambassador of America, ambassador to Kenya, where he went during the campaign period and actually asked some questions and said, this is Kenya's project. Whoever becomes president, this is Kenya's project. Let me ask, did Yaoundé, did Nigeria, Abuja, actually, did they meet any of none? So the American first is very important. Let me tell you why Cameroon needs to adopt the American first. Dr. Ngwanyam and Dr. Akah and, of course, Senior Aloysius has made it clear that Cameroon is so blessed. And the Cameroon first mentality, what will it be? It will be on the basis, let us identify where we are strong and we focus on. Let me look rhetorically, look at China. Their strength is in technology. They are producing technology machines.
Manufacturing.
Indian, IT. Medical and IT.
Both. All dimensions.
IT medics. Oh.
Germany, Volkswagen and the rest.
Yes. Engineering.
You come to France, they also are into production, though the consumer production. You go to Singapore, they have tourism and finance. You go to Dubai, they have tourism. Come to Cameroon, what are we good at?
Nothing.
We don't have any strength.
The world knows that.
We don't have any strength.
We have the potential to develop all these.
We don't have any strength. Now, if we bring in the Cameroon first mentality, we mean that we recategorize all these schools. Schools, once the university should focus on one thing. If you are agriculture, you are agriculture. If you are medicine, you are medicine. If you are engineer, you are engineer. If you are business, you are business. Such that you don't do everything and doing nothing, and not doing nothing. Specialization. Yes. Because if you go to America, a university in America is specialized only on one thing. Florida University, Chicago, Agriculture. This one, St. Thomas is business. Capital, IT. If you come to Cameroon, most of our universities are doing everything. Today, if I see Dr. Lee had 300 or 500 students in nursing, the next day,
open my own
nursing department, faculty of nursing. So the Cameroon first mentality simply means that identifying our strength, and Lord and behold, our strength is based on two major sectors, agriculture and energy. When you focus on agriculture, they say if your food is your medicine becomes your food, you will reduce diseases, you will reduce the way in which you fall sick, you will have the energy enough to work. So if we can have a nation, a leader, and as the election in US ended, I asked one simple question. We have watched how American election has ended. Our politicians, how also are we preparing to tackle the millennials, the Gen Zs? Because if you look at the American election, Trump did more appearance on social media platforms and popular casts than on mainstream.
No, you cannot say more. The fact is that it is a different...
No, I'm just saying that let us look at our reality. What a reality. How do we... Our campaign starts now. You were right. You said Trump took 4 years. Yeah. How many of our politicians have started campaign? The campaign doesn't mean they're going to say, vote for me. How many have started active visiting on the field? Today is storm Ngwanyam market. The next day storm this side. Say, well, Mami, I agree to now. How are things? Well, I just say, let me come and visit you. I am Dr. Akah. I am of this. That's all. They have seen your face. They have spoken with you. You move round. Before William Ruto won election, he would talk Kenya 2 times, back to back. In Cameroon, we need that leader. This our politicians need to start doing back to back ground root.
Okay, we have just 10 minutes to go. A wish that you want to see accomplished during Trump's reign.
Oh, thank you very much. The first thing, what I would have wished for is already done. That this issue, we are pro-life, and this issue of abortions, we're not going to have it in Africa, sent down our throats. We are not going to have this issue of homosexual and transgender and LGBT, what. No. And that Trump, as an entrepreneur, he should just be nice to our African governments and help them to think entrepreneurial just like him. And you know, Trump and Elon Musk are going to come together, and they're going to take the world by storm, because these two guys, they are great guys. And when I'm saying so, it's very important because I've been reading this book. I'm sure you know this, Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki is a friend of Trump's. He's a friend of Trump, and he wrote this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. A very tough book. I read it, I never understood. But later on, I bought this other book, Why A Students Work for C Students and B Students Work for the Government. And he exposed a lot of things to them. And when I'm talking today, I'm so confident because I read that book and I understood. So when Trump is talking, Trump is grounded in entrepreneurship. He's grounded in principles. He is grounded in production. You can talk from morning to evening. There's no production, no economics. You are wasting your time with him. He should bring that culture to Africa, and it will help us.
Okay. Your prayers, so your wish also for Donald Trump, especially for Africa.
My wish is that we Africans will prepare the ground to make use of these opportunities, whatever opportunities Donald Trump is going to present to us. And I want to say that whether he deports all of our brothers or he does not do it, whatever he does, let's look into it carefully and don't pick the negative, because when you start looking at thinking negative, it blinds you, you don't see again. Try to pick the silver line on it that you can exploit to help us develop. And I think that if we look at life like that, we are going to make use of the whatever policies he's going to put before us. We Africans are going to turn it into opportunities, and this will move Africa forward.
Okay, it's going to move Africa forward. And Dr. Akah, would you also want to see Africans also, they'll gather to go and congratulate him? And I don't know, how do we pair up so that we earn more respect from Donald Trump?
I think it was said here, Africa need to discuss as a continent, divided we fall together, we are one. And I believe very strongly that Faki, we're talking, Mahamat, is the African Union Commission President.
Yes.
He has that mandate to represent the whole of Africa,
Yes.
which means that the inauguration of Donald Trump should not see all the president driving to America. The shocking thing is that when they go to America, all of them are going with Rush Royal, and they will have a lot. In fact, I say it's surprising that in America and Europe, President go maybe 3 of them in one car, 4 of them in one plane. African leaders go individually with their delegation. And while European leaders go on those less expensive hotels, Africans charter, some of them charter the whole hotel, the tower. And then they are down, security at the gate, they don't want to come. I mean, even out of here, the guys move for their security. And when you go like that, some people ask, is it really necessary to spend taxpayers' money? That Trump need to come in, especially under the concept of corruption, to strengthen the African mindset. There's a need for us to invest here, not us giving you money as aids and then you bring it back to storm or put in American utilities or projects and whatsoever. We need a continent that is that of a respecter of his own citizens. Because the highest thing with people running down the stream and going down, crossing the lakes and the bushes, the Amazons, it's because there's a lot of threat back home. There is a need for good governance. That Trump should insist that maybe benefiting from loans, you must prove a pass mark in governance aspect so that this money will be given for you for this investment. And I believe it will help this continent. Secondly, the frank nature of Donald Trump. So a lot of African leaders need to learn that at one point, we might not just talk because we want to gain the office, but we should be capable of lifting the words with our actions. Meaning, if I'm giving, this is what I will do, not because I want to win the crowd. A lot of African politicians made good speeches, good promises, and at the end of 5-6 years, you're unable to do it. And I remember when Obama was voted for the second mandate at the University of Columbia, a student stood up in a second mandate during campaign. Yes, Mr. President, I voted for you in 2008. But now that I'm talking, I have not yet decided whether I will vote for you. Sir, what have you done that will merit my vote? If what you have done merit my vote are the promises you made to the electorate before you took the first mandate, you need to list them. That I will close Guantanamo, and it was closed. Yeah. Yes. It was closed because the normal FBI. So, as I told you, I took an economy from Bush. It was down. There were no finances. Banks are now working. There were no jobs. You see, he was not talking things which were spiritual. There were things which are American. Tangible. Yeah, tangible. People were seeing. This is what we talk about politicians. They can be measured and everybody felt it. Obama could create as much as 350,000 jobs in a single month. People knew already that really, Mr. President, you are the one that America wants. I will vote for you. Do you know what that will do to the rest of the people that were in that hall? Yes. Obama has just won a lot of votes. So by answering an electorate, because the thing is said are the things he has done. So please, I wish a second mandate to complete my task. But we were a bit shocked because it came, I'm telling you, generally with all US presidents, very few have taken a second mandate and finished without hitches. I'm equally sure that if Trump would have taken a second mandate, we might have not been living the Trump we are living now. Because the second mandate is always one to impose even when people don't like.
Okay.
Compromise with the second mandate.
Yes, since they know they are living.
They are living
yes,
the office.
It's their last mandate. Yes, lessons to take, given that some African nations are going for elections next year, presidential elections, notably Cameroon. What are the lessons that our politicians, yes, we should get? Because we've seen Harris lost elections, and I've seen terrible videos of Democrats weeping profusely, especially blacks, after this. How do we ensure that by October next year, we are not also weeping?
Lesson number one, coalition will do the magic. Trump did not win alone. He formed a very strong coalition. Tulsi Gabbard was a former Democratic presidential aspirant, who had more nominations in the 2020 campaign than Kamala Harris in the same party. He aligned with Trump. Robert F. Kennedy, who was the son of former John F. Kennedy, actually is a Democrat who wanted to go in for a Democrat.
Not wanted, he was an independent candidate.
He first wanted to go in with the Democrat. When they refused the nomination, the primaries, he went now as an independent candidate. He has his followers. He abandoned and joined Trump. You have Elon Musk. You have Danny White of UFC. You have also, I think, a good number of factions came together. Coalition is the only thing that can do the magic. Because if Trump had gone solo without R.F. Kennedy, without all the others I've cited, it would have been so very difficult. Number two, learn to listen to what the people have, the silent majority. In Cameroon, we have the silent majority. The silent majority are those who don't fear is about talking politics. They will tell you that, no, we vote not to change, not to change. The day this silent majority shall wake up, there are many. They don't talk. When you enter a taxi, you want to talk about politics, I'm going to leave people down nothing. Those are the silent majority. How to get them? Get to their language, understand their language, and speak their language. Trump was talking their language. He said they are forgotten people will not be forgotten no more. And look at the percentage of people who voted for him. Look at the educated class. The non-educated class highly voted for him because he understood their language. So know the message of those who say if we vote, nothing will change. How do I change their mentality? One, organize town hall. Two, constantly visit their municipalities, because Trump was back to back. So if in order not for us not to lick our wounds, let all of us come together, or at least four as a coalition. The next one is that we move to block by block. The next issue is establish foot soldiers. Our foot soldiers will be in churches, in places, and be discussing town halls, organizing town halls, sampling opinions. If without this, I think we will not go. And conclusively, we must understand that the media has a great role to play. Our politicians these days, we are few months to election. We are in November. I'm sure we have about just 10 months. Very few parties send their militants to TV or get to TV. In the East Africa, parties pay TV stations to send their militants to militate. But in our nation, you even call a politician to even come and explain. It's a third world war. It's very difficult. And so, one of the reasons why Trump won was because he was constantly on the media. Constantly.
Okay, he was constantly on, yeah.
One of the things which maybe, Tama, we need a reliable electoral system. This is killing Africa. Elections happened 2-3 hours after we have the results. What is happening to Africa? Why can't we have a transparent, secured election? We need an electoral system where the people believe in. Because with a coalition, if we don't believe in the electoral machinery, it's a waste of time.
I agree with Doctor, but when it's too big, when the people turn out massively, it will be too difficult to read.
Yeah, what do you call too big? Yeah, when you call too big, there is a problem. Yes. What I'm saying, that what we call a computerized ID card, Dr. Nick Noda is not computerized. The ID card is computerized because it was typed in the machine, and the former one was written with hands. A computerized electoral card is not because it was typed by the computer. A computerized electoral card means that any time you vote, the computer registers that you have voted, and your vote has been counted automatically. We count to confirm what the computer is giving.
We don't even have a voting computer.
And this is what I'm saying, that we need an electoral system that secures the interests of the voters.
It's the same thing in Nigeria, but it's not secure now. Beavers.
Doctor, I don't know whether you have something to add, but we are out of time.
Yes, just to say that, you know, when we were talking about the upcoming elections, especially in Cameroon, you would have noticed that, you know, I talked about the three pillars plus the fourth. We talked about politics, economics, development, and education. These are the four things. And when you look at all our politicians and so on, all they know is politics. And what is the politics? It's a feel-good kind of politics where you insult the other person and so on. But when you come down to issues, they are very shallow. And I'm telling you, the next elections that are coming, these are the issues that will be debated. Very little of politics, but you will have to tell people how you will provide 2 million jobs for youth every 2 years. What strategies will you use? You know, what would be the indicators? What exactly would you do? How would you help children to put money in their pockets? How are you going to develop? Where are you going to take the resources from? So it will be around entrepreneurship and problem solving, not this thing of just wearing a beautiful tie and coming and blowing hot air. It's going to be tough.
Thank you, Mr. Tazi. Would I say I'm cheating you if you're not assessing?
Just one last word, and I wish to say that if we have to come out of this, we have to create a system that will give the voters confidence. That system that if I cast my vote for this phone, when they read the results, my vote should be standing under this phone. It should not be standing under the paper. So once that system is created, those who have lost confidence in the system will be motivated to come back. And when they come back, the youths that are a greater percentage, their votes will reflect in the results, and we'll see the change that will done.
Okay, we want to thank you, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, for coming. Dr. Nick is a politician, he is a social entrepreneur, and also an educationist. We are grateful you came. Mr. Tazi is a maritime expert. Thank you for coming. He also runs an institution out there in Limbe that is training maritime personnel, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yes. And Dr. Akah, John Akah, is a lecturer with some universities in Cameroon. He's also leading an organization,
a civil society
organization. And Jarvis is a journalist who works with us, also works with the Catholic University Institute of Boya, the Douala campus. We want to thank you, the production team, Eli and Desmond, for all the work you guys have done across the week. And to all of you watching, we say we are eternally grateful. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.